Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Monday. I miss you like crazy. I wanted to come and read a book again to you. So this is called We Are the Gardeners. It's a cute little book that I just added to my collection a couple weeks ago. Um, and since it's springtime and it's time to plant those gardens, I thought I would read it to you today. Okay? It's kind of long, so hang in there. And it's We Are the Gardeners by Joanna and her kids. It's written by them. Isn't that pretty cool? We Are the Gardeners. That's a pretty official title, but we didn't start out this way. Just like our garden, we started small and grew from there. Some say that our garden just grows from seeds, but we think it grows from trying and failing and trying again. Our garden is hard work, but so is most good important stuff in life. See, there's the kids. Our family's garden story began with one small potted fern. Dad stumbled upon it at the hardware store when he ran in for some supplies. He said it was just too cute to leave behind, and he thought it would make Mom smile. And it did. We chose a sunny windowsill for the pretty little fern. It seemed like a good safe spot for him to grow. This was back when we were little kids, but we still remember visiting the plant each day and giving him a drink, and sometimes we'd even whisper to him a bit. And then, plot twist, out of nowhere, our fern died. Death by overhydration. This was just a fancy way of saying we were giving him way too much water. Looking back, each one of us had watered him every day. That's a lot of drinks for a little plant. By mistake, we loved that plant to death. Some people tell themselves they're no good at something after one small failure. But no chance. We were not giving up that easily. So we checked out some books from the library, and we found out that ferns can be tricky and prefer to live in a shady spot. Apparently, a plant's leaves could communicate to us what they're needing. We also learned that most plants have good manners and like to sip, not gulp. Lesson learned. Dad got us a fresh fern, and with it came fresh hope. This time we set the pot on our piano, way on the other side of the room where the sun wouldn't give him so much attention. We made a watering schedule and took turns saying a lot of nice things to our little sprout of a plant. And fern number 2 lived and thrived and grew, and finally, Mom got him a little potted friend, and then another, and then 1 or 2 more. We noticed that talking to our plants actually helped them grow, bigger and stronger, so we added some songs and jokes into the mix. Unlike when we were overwatering, 0 plants died from us talking too much. Pretty soon, the plants were taking over the house, and Dad said it was time to graduate to an outdoor garden. Mom was excited about the new outdoor garden as we were, and she started talking about it with a dreamy look in her eyes, and that's when Dad called a family meeting so we could come up with a real plan. We all gathered around the kitchen table and got to work dreaming and planning and drawing things out. We knew it needed a sunny spot, a place where the plants could sunbathe for at least 6 hours a day. We'd be red as radishes if we did that, but plants just love it. And more than that, they need it. In the garden, there is no life without light. Dad always says that a foundation is the most important thing when it comes to building a house. A house can't be strong if it's built on something weak, and the same holds true in the garden. So to make the foundation of our garden strong, we filled it with something called soil. Good soil, which includes a bunch of tiny living things called organisms, can grow things in it. That's pretty amazing when you stop and think about it. A whole hidden world of life is happening beneath our feet. Just because you can't see the good things with your eyes doesn't mean they're not there. And another cool thing about soil is that it feeds and strengthens the seeds we sow. Then, like a miracle, plants and flowers burst out of the garden. We all knew we needed our garden to get plenty of water. Rain is the very best thing for plants to drink, but it's hard to know when and if the rain is coming. So a couple other options to keep plants hydrated are to collect rainwater or use a sprinkler or garden hose to get the job done. Once we had our location with plenty of sun, good soil, and a watering plan, we got right to work. First thing we needed was seeds. The most fun part of planning out our garden was deciding what to plant. We started with all the foods we like to eat, like strawberries and tomatoes, and then we chose some pretty flowers to keep them company. The thing about seeds is that they're everyday miracles. Everything a plant will grow up to be is already hidden inside the seed. We chose flowers like zinnias and sunflowers and cosmos so that the pollinators would visit our garden. Butterflies and hummingbirds and bees spread pollen from one flower to another flower, encouraging even more things to bloom. We like knowing that these little helpers are out there in the nature working with us to help our garden grow. The bees must have spread the word that we had a pretty good thing going, because sure enough, all sorts of other critters started to arrive. We quickly found out that there are 3 types of bugs in our backyard: the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's start with the worst part. It was a pretty sad day when the aphids finally arrived. They were some of the more well-known villains in the gardening world. They sucked the life right out of the plant. But then the ladybugs showed up to eat those pesky aphids for lunch. Ladybugs are for sure part of the hero camp, bravely protecting our plant friends from harm. And then we've got to tell you about earthworms. They're like the secret agents of the garden. Earthworms eat all the dead things like old roots and leaves and turn them into life for the soil. Every time we find one, we would all high-five and celebrate. They aren't pretty, but who cares? They're awesome, and we love seeing them in all their hard work. We realized pretty quickly that we needed help to get the weeds out. They are true bullies of the garden. Weeds try to steal the water, sunlight, and nutrients from other fruits and veggies, and it's our job to make sure those little rascals don't take over. If we ignore the garden for too long, the weeds run wild and hurt our beloved plants. It's so much easier to do just a little bit every day. We are officially gardeners and had a real-life garden to prove it. That garden became our pride and joy. Day in and day out, we tended to our plants, making sure they got plenty of sun and water. Every time a new plant sprouted up from the ground, our excitement grew right along with it. As time passed, our garden grew bigger, and so did our family. When our garden was finally in full bloom and growing tall, we'd run through the aisles and watch the butterflies flutter around us. But one day, as we were mid-skip, we noticed some trespassers helping themselves to lunch, and by lunch, we mean half the garden. Animals may look cute and innocent, but some have a sneaky side. They can wipe out the garden in no time flat. The chickens ate the vegetables, the goats ate Mom's roses, and the bunnies weren't picky at all. They ate everything in sight. Saying goodbye to that many happy plants was even harder than throwing away our first dead fern. We debated if we should give up. Was it really worth it to start all over again? Then we remembered one very important detail. We are the gardeners. It was our responsibility not only to grow this garden, but also to protect it. So we put up a little fence around it to keep the animals out and got to work rebuilding our garden. It didn't take long to get our plants and flowers growing tall again. To this day, our very favorite days are when we get to gather the fruits of our labor. Mom loves to set the table with pretty flowers in every color that you can imagine. We help her dream up recipes for the food we've grown. Sometimes when we all see the beauty laid out, we can't believe our hands help bring life to it, and it makes all the hard work worth it. It's what keeps us coming back day after day, season after season. We still keep that little fern on the piano to remind us of our small beginnings. Every time we water it, we're reminded not to give up when things don't work out the first time. Because the thing is, whether one potted fern dies or half the garden is wiped out by little critters, every failure or setback teaches us something. Dad says that every hard thing we choose to do makes us braver for the next time. There are so many lessons waiting to be learned and a whole world of gardening ready to bloom. We are the gardeners, and you can be too. Happy gardening. Have a great day. And remember not to be afraid to try new things, because our failures teach us things. Bye.